Initiate program. Harvest pumpkin. Activate.
Well, things progressed entirely better than expected.
Rehash, what the hell is that? Oh, what?
You don't expect me to actually harvest and do the manual labor of taking the pumpkins off the ground, do you?
I reiterate, what the hell is that?
It's an ingenious investment on my part. I find a robot, I salvage it, and then I put it to work and harvest my fields.
It looks like you just dragged General Grievous's body out of a dumpster. Why, that's what actually happened. And then you stuck a B-1 battle droid's head on it. Exactly! So you're willing to go through the engineering process of reattaching a head that doesn't even belong onto General Grievous's body just so you can get out a few hours of work running the pumpkins? Exactly! Why didn't you tell me about this so I could tell you no?
And a greeting to all of my little chaos minions. It is I, Rehash, and welcome back to the Gentleman's Chat. As you can see, we're back on the farm once more to discuss solo farming in the tower. Let's continue where we left off. The chapter begins in one of the traveling merchant's passages, where Theo and his 2 Minotaur bodyguards are currently roaming around. Everybody thinks that the Minotaurs are incredibly impressive and that some big shot is wandering around. But when Theo proclaims that they're his Minotaur bodyguards, no one believes him because Theo is an orange cat. The Minotaurs are also wandering around because this is their first time outside of the 99th floor and they don't really know anything about what's going on. They see food, they want to eat it. They see stuff, they think it's food, they still want to eat it. They also want to know why they're able to take faster passages, unlike others who have to take slower ones. And this is where Theo gives us some lore on the Wandering Merchant Guild. Apparently, the tower is less like a tower and more like a tree, with branching branches and roots, and twisting and turning areas, all of them dangerous and filled with monsters. The original Wandering Merchants Guild were the ones who defended and defeated these monsters, and secured safe passage throughout all the routes. This would become the basis of the Wandering Merchants Guild, with 3 great powers. Though those powers are still a mystery, they all make up the Wandering Merchants Guild, which is why they're able to take such a convenient passage. The Minotaurs are impressed by his knowledge, but this is literally page 1 of basic information on the Wanderings Guild. Okay, so that's lore, but what exactly are we supposed to do with this information? Hey, any lore is good lore. I will rebuttal that with J.K. Rowling's lore drop of plumbing in Hogwarts. So the almighty Theo, being in a very generous mood after the Minotaurs praised him, decide it's time to get something to eat before they head to the 38th floor. But before they have a chance, they get ambushed by the wolves again. They threaten to take him alive this time, and force the information they want out of him. Theo is, of course, abruptly scared. But unlike before, Theo has muscular backup! After Theo points out that these are the same guys that jumped him before, Ox number 4 tells Ox number 3 to hold back and protect Theo, as she wants to take on all of them by herself. And by God, is that such a strong woman power move! Excuse me, what? What? The wolves definitely did not expect that either, but they're not willing to back down, and they're willing to take on the Minotaur 1v3. So be honest, gent, is Ox number 4 your type? I just remembered I have OC vectors to make! Blackmail. So let's stop talking about potential waifus. Let's talk about Sejun and the farm, as currently the sickle rabbit is giving the chunky rabbit a haircut. I like to call him Big Chungus. Everybody does. And then it's Sejun's turn. So they start giving him a quick trim when Kung accidentally breathes too hard on the sickle rabbit, and the sickle rabbit sneezes, and then he... Oh my. Oh my. Oh, that's a bald spot. Must continue to trim. You keep those sabers away from me, buddy. So we cut back to Gent's waifu beating up a bunch of dogs. Hey, don't phrase it like that. You're right, they're wolves. Exactly. Hey! Honestly, there's really not too much to say here. It's just a really cool fight where Jen's waifu is currently taking on 3 wolves at the same time. But this is an incredibly one-sided fight, as even with 3 on 1, this Minotaur is from the 99th floor. Who knows where these are from, but they're certainly not that high. And she easily one-shots each and every one of them. And just before the leader is about to turn his face into kibbles and bits, we get the most important scene of any character arc. Flashbacks! We start off where the young wolf Elik was a young puppy. His father and grandfather were the chieftains of his tribe of silver wolves, and they tried to raise him with the ideas and instilled in him that honor is strong, and he must lead eventually with honor, dignity, and respect. And that treat everyone, all of the members of his silverback tribe, as part of his family, and protect them at all costs. But they eventually fell on hard times. Food was scarce, barely anything to eat, and what they did have was very unedible, thanks to raids on their Silver Wolf village. Things have gotten low, very low. Eventually, Elik had no choice but to sell his services to the worst kind of people, including Lord Grid, which this is the first actual look we got of him. He's a pig. Yes, he is definitely a pig. He is very greedy, very evil-looking, No, I mean he's an actual pig. So you're telling me the big bad of this series is going to be a pig? Why not? I mean, we're working with fluffy bunnies. Obviously, honorable warrior, prideful leader, doesn't really mesh well with mercenary for hire work, especially for working for someone like Lord Grid. So clearly, the reason he's so angry all the time and so harsh is because he's always been conflicted about what he's forced to do. But that matters little now because he's in Theo's care. And even though he hired the Minotaurs to beat them up if they attacked, he's not above letting them live. But they tie them up, and they're going to take them back to the farm, which means all their problems are going to be solved. Now you see, this is lore that we can actually work with. Yes, Lord Grid has been a name that's been surfacing time and time again whenever there's an issue revolving around food or supply chains. It seems that Lord Grid has quite the tight little grip on everything in the tower, which is why there's so many individuals that are currently suffering from food shortage. Control the food, control the power. Of course, monopolies like that only hold when there's not a direct rival, and Sejun is now a direct rival. Which means it's only a matter of time before this whole thing boils over, and Grid decides to take action against the farm. Yes, but right now, Sejun's one biggest advantage is the fact that Grid doesn't know anything about the farm, so he's allowed to build up his power. We cut back to the farm where Koog and the Sickle Rabbit are in full panic mode because they accidentally caused Sejun to have a bit of a bald spot on the very back of his head, and they don't know what to do to cover it up. But before they have a chance to, Sejun reaches back to see what's going on back there, only to feel the bald spot. And he, of course, is upset. But Sejun's a nice guy, so he tries to make them feel better about their accident by putting on the hat and say, "See, I wear the hat, so it doesn't really matter." But he's clearly bothered by it. So, who better to come in than to fix her child's mistake than Mama Bunny, who scolds Sickle Rabbit on what she did, as well as Koog, and of course, only a mother could. So, she pulls out her own pair of scissors and tells Sejun to sit down, because she is going to properly handle this situation. We then cut to Arlene, who's currently chillaxing reading a book, eating the cherry tomatoes, when she runs out. Not wanting to have no more snacks, she decides to go to Sejun, though admittedly begrudgingly because she doesn't want a situation where he confuses her for a flying pig. But snacks be damned! She is going to have something! But when she contacts him through her crystal ball, she notices the surprise change. Sejun's new hairstyle, and it's
Boo! Boo! No! No! Boo! Boo! Bad haircut! Boo! 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 Bring us back the locks! Boo! Boo!
Well, Arlene is practically dazzled by this abomination that is currently on his head.
Yeah, now he just looks like every other Menghua protagonist. He had such a distinct look before.
Well, she's speechless and even tells him to back off because her heart is aflutter. Because it's clear that she likes him and doesn't want to admit it to herself. She finally gets on track and says, I'm here to ask for more cherry tomatoes because I've run out. So our boy offers her more snacks. She gets sent them and she thanks him. And she also has that... I can't even get the words out. That is an abomination on his head.
She says that it looks good, even though that's a lie.
Ugh. Sejun is taken aback, but doesn't think too much of the compliment and decides to go back to work. Meanwhile, Arlene is still aflutter because she can't help but feel feelings despite having a still heart due to the magic power. So she decides that it's a time that she stop just taking from Sejun and start giving a little. So she looks through her extraordinary library and finds a cookbook. Oh, she's going to make him something delicious.
Or terrible. There's like no in between with that. They're either good at cooking or they're not.
Gent, I have a commission.
What do you want now? You already got me to make sugarcane for you, and apparently a robot.
No, this one's different. I need a new background.
What is it?
A cathedral.
What, you want people to praise you as a god?
No, I want to have a place to where whatever god is listening, so I can pray to it, so that that dragon stays an adult and not turn into a lolly.
I'll get on it right away. We later cut to Theo,
in a stylish position,
who is immediately swarmed by all the people wanting to buy as many cherry tomatoes as possible. So Theo wastes no time in selling all the tomatoes he's brought, which is significantly more than usual. But hey, that means more for them, right? Well, things are going well until the CEO guy's minions show up with so much tower coins that no one could possibly pay anywhere near close to the amount that they're willing to pay for it. So, without further ado, he gets it all. The entire pot. The entire D-grade tomatoes. And everybody is super upset and pissed off about it.
It seems the CEO is creating an artificial shortage by buying out all the cherry tomatoes regularly to the point where the scarcity is so few. No one has any anymore. But, thankfully, Kim, the leader of the Phoenix Guild, remember him? Well, he says he has an in, and he's good with Sejun and Theo, so everything's all set for his part. He has an unfair advantage. Until a closer look at the inspected goods. Sejun's name has finally appeared as the merchant responsible for growing the cherry tomatoes. Kim analyzes it himself, and sure enough, his name is there. Park Sejun. And this makes Kim very nervous and anxious. The CEO hired adventurers immediately decide to go back to the CEO man and report the information to him, because they could get a big promotion after learning the identity of the tower farmer meant growing the cherry tomatoes. And Kim fears the worst. Not necessarily for Park Sejun himself, but for his family. Because the CEO may go after his family to get to Sejun.
Oh, right. I didn't even think of that.
Of course!
He can't go after Park Sejun himself, but he can still go after his family. And the only thing protecting him was the fact that Theo didn't have a high enough rank. But now that the name is out, then his family could be in danger. And we've all seen just how crazy the CEO is about making the tower farming initiative work. This is not ruling out the possibility that he could try to buy out, if not straight up threaten, Sejun's family. And he'd never even know it because they don't contact him.
Well, Theo approaches Kim as if they're old buddies, but then Kim snatches up Theo and immediately bolts to a secure location. When Theo asks what the hell, he explains the situation. That because Sejun's name is now known, his family could be in danger, not just from the CEO, but from other adventurers trying to get their hands on the most popular item in the tower. Theo, thinking that it's all his fault, decides that he needs to go back to the 99th floor to warn Sejun as soon as possible, but not before asking Kim for another favor, to deliver a bunch of corn and carrots to Sejun's family. Seeing them as items comparable to the cherry tomatoes, Kim is surprised and realizes if this shit gets out, then it would be chaos the world over. So he agrees, and they part ways, with Kim thinking to himself he's got to consult a higher power. He's got to consult the Master. We do a hard cut to the Minotaurs, where the wolves are complaining about how they've sullied their names and are so lowly to work for a wandering cat merchant. But they are not fazed. In fact, if anything, they find them annoying, and Ox number 4 wants to break their legs. But no time for that, as Theo approaches our Minotaurs and says that they need to get the baggage and get back up to the 99th floor ASAP to tell Sejun the emergency news. Without hesitation, they grab the wolves and heave-ho! But then something stops Theo in his tracks as his merchant paws are a-tingling. He runs over to a random merchant, picks up a rock necklace, and asks for a discount. Theo, I know that you're the kitty with the golden paw and can find a good deal on a discounted price of any random magical item, but I think now is not the best time to be doing this. I think we need to go back to floor 99 to tell Sejun about what's going on. Not that he could do anything really about it. I mean, really, he's still trapped in the floor 99. He doesn't even have access to the waypoint yet. So it's not as though he could do anything, even if he could. Yeah, I know, but still. You just gotta remember, this is still an Iseki, and Iseki does mean trapped in another world. So, he's stuck. He has a nice little farm, but he's still stuck. Yeah, I suppose his family will probably be protected through circumstances outside of his control. Let's look at the positives of this chapter, shall we? We finally get an image of Lord Gerd. And he's a pig. Yeah, I'm a little underwhelmed by that, but still, it makes sense. Pigs are a glutton. Yeah, after dropping his name so many times, it's finally nice to put a face to the madness. But speaking of madness, we got Sejun's new haircut.
Ugh, it's like shaving a lion. You just don't do that.
I genuinely don't mind them giving him a new look, but they could have just went with anything other than just... Oh my god, that's so boring and so bad. And I'm so used to his luscious locks. Like, couldn't you allow him just to have some kind of unique hairstyle? Because I really like him standing apart from other manhwa protagonists. While it's not exactly a deal breaker, it's definitely a misfire on the series. But we'll have to wait until next time to see how Sejun reacts to the wolves being part of the family again, because you know that's where things are headed. Indeed. So until then, I'm Cartoon Gent. And I'm Rehash. And this has been a Gentleman's Chat. We'll see you all next... Oh no! Tell all Jedi, tell all Jedi. Well, I guess we'll see you all next time.